All right, let's take a look at what we've got. So, still building up this tool to take a link from allrecipes.com and basically parse the ingredient list. I have something on my to-do list that was, oh, the fresh loaf. So let me add under notes to self, to do, make compatible with the fresh loaf. I think that is freshloaf.net. Freshloaf.com, there we go. All right, so all this old stuff. So I've got these old parsers. Right now I've got my code in two files. One where stuff works, and then one where I'm kind of working things out. That is working well enough for now. Lets me kind of figure something out and then move it into here. So what I've got here that works. I load in my packages, I set up a session where I follow a website's preferences about how often I access them. So if they say, please don't make a call more than every 5 seconds, then it will take care of that for me. I've got a way to get a page, so I put in a URL and it says, okay, let's take this session rule, let's update it for the URL for this page, and then let's pull the data from that. All right, so I get the page, I can take a page, and with that I can pull out the ingredient list. This will turn it into a vector, so an unordered list of items. Let's check really quick to see how the fresh loaf compares. All right, so here, let's inspect this. This is paragraphs with breaks. All right, so that's going to be harder to figure out. Let's just check out another one. So here we've got tables, now an image of tables. All right, so this is going to be not nearly as easy as I'd hoped. So, incompatible with the freshloaf.com. Going to be hard. All right, so that should be lower down the list. So what else have I got? I've got in last session I was working on this. So I had already figured out the ingredient list. I created this convert fraction function that will take something like, 1/4 of a teaspoon or something, where it is a character that's 1/4 rather than 3 characters like here. But using UTF encoding, I look at a character code, and if the character code is any of these, then we replace that value, which for example might be 1/3, with the numerical value 1 divided by 3. So as long as it is the right format, we do that. Otherwise, we just spit it back out as its own numeric. So that was part of this get quantity thing. Also tokenized list item, which will take a list item, so 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and it will split it up based on the spaces. This is really just a convenient thing here for using in other bits of code, like get quantity, where I tokenize an item list. I figure out, are there any fractions, by asking, can we use the encoding function on each of these items in that item list and see if it returns an encoding of UTF-8. If that's the case, then we're going to find where do we get that first UTF-8 thing, which I am right now assuming is a fraction. Could be something else. If someone put a smiley face in their ingredient list, that would mess up my code. But for now, I'm going to get something that works well enough. Once it's working, then I'll run a whole list of recipes through and see where it breaks and fix accordingly. But right now, we look for that first fraction, quarter of a teaspoon, something like that, and then we keep everything up to and including that token. We convert the fractions, so if, let's say 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt, it's going to see 1, and then a 1/4, and it's going to then combine all of that. Otherwise, it's not going to see 1/4, it's just going to see something like 1 teaspoon of salt. So it will take everything in the tokens that can be treated as numeric, that has a value of 1 to 10,000. So if there's something that requires 10,000 tablespoons of something, 10,001, then my code's going to break. But there shouldn't be any recipe with a quantity of 10,000 of anything. All right, so that's what I've got. I've got a way to take a list of items and get the quantities out of each of them. So let's run what we've got. Clear everything out, pull in this file, which includes setting a session. So you can see in our environment, we've got a session as well as some functions. We've loaded all of this stuff in with source, so I don't need to do that line by line. What I can do is use our example URL, download that page, get the ingredient list, and get the quantities. All right, so I'm getting some warnings, but warnings don't necessarily mean it's broken. It just means that I'm looking at some things and saying, is salt something that we can find as a numeric value in 1 to 10,000? And it's saying, well, we can't turn salt into a numeric. We got an NA. No problem. Not a real problem, at least not yet. So 1 pound bulk mild Italian sausage gave us a quantity of 1.0, 1 1/4 teaspoons turned to 1.25. The quantity is good. So what do I need to do? I need to extract units, g pounds, teaspoons, etc. I need to extract ingredient names, and then standardize ingredient names, e.g. map. Well, things like, various names for milk will be turned into milk, but I'm going to put this one again further down the list. I'll get to that later. So, extract ingredient names, extract units. Right now, this is all kind of built into the parse ingredient item. That should ultimately turn into something else. So let's call that old. Do the same for the potato parser. That was just for this case where you get 6 medium potatoes. So there, if we don't have, I think, how did I do this? I think with the ingredient list, the units of measure. So if you don't come across a unit of measure, I say large, I could put in medium. Hopefully that works out all right. And then parse ingredients list. I think that should be okay here. Where we're mapping over our ingredients, let's call this ingredient list. Get ingredient list, we take a page. Get quantity, we take a list item, tokenized list item, we take a list item, ingredients list. I'm going to call it ingredient list. That feels a little easier. All right, so that takes an ingredient list, which should just be a vector, and parses all of them and arrange them in a data frame. So what I'm going to ultimately want is for parse ingredient item to do certain things. So let's, for now, leave that stuff there. Parse ingredient item is going to be a function of page. It's going to be of an ingredient list item. Ingredient list item. So, parse ingredient item, we're going to take the ingredient list and we're going to map over each item in the list. We're going to do the ingredient item. Right, so a list item. So, what do we want? We want I guess we want a tibble where we have, let me make sure I'm thinking about how to use tibble right. Fill the data frame. Data. I think this will be fine. All right, so I want and what am I calling? It's get quantity. So we will have, besides this, we will have get ingredient name. Let's just call it get name. And then get unit. So ingredient will be get name of ingredient list item. Yeah. Unit equals get unit for ingredient list item, and quantity equals get quantity for ingredient list item. All right. So this should do the trick. Let's just put in a dummy situation here. We'll just return potato, and we will return 42 potatoes. So if I go parse ingredient item for some item list, some list items. So if I say 6 medium potatoes, it gets the quantity of 6, it gets the unit that I just hard-coded, and the ingredient that I just hard-coded. Gives us this warning, but no big deal. I should know how to turn off warnings off the top of my head, but I'm not going to Google that right now. All right. So this works, and we can put this into here. So we can parse individual items, parse ingredient list, that should be in there. So if we go parse ingredient list, maybe that's not in there yet. Parse ingredient list for our example list. So all the ingredients are potatoes, all the units are 42, but the quantities are correct. That is good. All right. So this, what do I need to keep here? All right. I think I can clear out these notes to self. Quantity works, UTF stuff, pull out the units, do the sorting, standardize names. That is okay. All right, so how am I getting the name out of this? Essentially, I want anything to the right of the unit. So let's start with getting the unit. So let's tokenize the list item. All right, so we look at those tokens. How did we do it here with left? We found which of these things in some vector, this vector of encodings, equals something. So we want unit index will be which with the tokens is in the units of measure. And then I can return. I'm not going to use the keyword. I'm just going to spit it out directly. Ingredient list item unit index. Now, for name, it should be everything to the right. So we'll call this right. Is going to be tokens from unit index plus 1 up to the length of tokens. And then what did I do here? In this case, my left was just a series of numbers, so I just added them. In this case, I want to, paste them together. So if I say tokens, let's take the things in right, and if I paste that with collapse equals space, that should do the trick. All right, so if I go get name, example list, let's go for just item number 7, which is not logical. Item number 1, which is not logical. There we go. Load that in. Okay. Let's check X list. So get name found everything to the right of bulk. So let's S apply to the X list get name, and let's see what it does for each of those. Bulk Mile Italian sausage, crushed red pepper, bacon cut in pieces, onion diced, minced garlic, chicken broth. Have I got cans in here? Can and cans. So for get unit, should also get anything to the left that isn't captured by get quantity. So for the can, my quantity is 5. My unit is going to be cans, but it should be 13.75 ounce cans. Let's see if I search for this string on all recipes. It's not showing up. Alright, so if I search for chicken, it's going to show me stuff. Let's check out Chef John chicken recipe. I want it. Soup. Okay. So maybe I need a can parsing function. All right, so if can isn't in the list item, just give it right back. So if can is in this, then what do we want to do? We want to find the size of the can. I guess, let's see. Regular expressions in R. So we're looking for patterns, and I guess this is what going to be at a read R. This will be a string extract. Replace return the index. Returns index or value. Value is true. So if I go grep for a pattern out of ingredient list item and value equals true. So what is the pattern that I am looking for? I am looking for parentheses and then anything. So if I go xlist 6 and I pipe that into grep, now let's just do it this way. If I say grep looking for this pattern in this, do I get something? Okay, value equals true. All right, let's try string extract and Next list 6 is the string. Don't want value true anymore. Okay. Character vector or something coercible to 1. Pattern to look for. Oh, I know what I want. Not read our stringer. All right. String detect, string start, string which, string locate, string sub, subset, extract. This is supposed to be the thing, right? Okay, I think that my pattern is too general. There we go. All right. Escape characters, always the trick for regular expressions. So, this means don't treat the parenthesis as some kind of code about how to contain stuff. For example, dot is a wild card. It's not a literal period. So we're not looking for the pattern that has a dot in it. We're looking for the pattern that has a thing in it at all, anything. That's what the dot does. And the asterisk means some number of those things. So we're looking for a bunch of text. And that's what it was returning before, is just all the text from that string. Now what it's looking for is in the parentheses. So it looks for a left parenthesis and then a bunch of stuff and then a right parenthesis. And in this case, it gives us that. Now, I think if we did, well, let's mess with it here. Now we can't get in that. Whatever, doesn't matter. Oh, you know what? We might be able to do it this way. Let's try something that isn't a left parenthesis. Any number of those, followed by a right parenthesis. Well, what do we want? We want anything that isn't a left or right parenthesis. Nah, never mind. I got something good enough. I can always take out of that if I need. I'm going to leave it in parentheses for now. It's fine the way it is. So, next list 6. I'm going to get a quantity of 5. I want this to be the unit. So I think that this is something that I'm going to use in get unit. So I'll say that should be okay. Alright, so if the word can is in the ingredient list, that could show up unexpected places. The word can isn't in the ingredient list, then definitely we don't want to do this. But if we're looking at, say, cantaloupe, well, that's going to be in there. We don't necessarily want to do that. So let's do tokens is, let's just copy paste from here. We've got our tokens. If we don't have can in the tokens, or cans in the tokens, and let's make sure that we just lowercase the whole thing. Should be lowercased already, but we're going to be safe. Take the ingredient list, we make it lowercase, we tokenize it, so we split this into 5. This will be 13.75. This will be ounce. So we want to pull that out of this. But if can or cans isn't in our list of items, then we just return the list. That'll be just as it is here. Otherwise, we can get the can size. The quantity we should have gotten out of get quantity. This we really just want to stick this together with can or cans. So, how are we getting this in general? In general, we ask which of the tokens is one of these things, and then we take that. This will be, okay. That should do it. X list item 6, which is not logical. X list 6, let's double check. That is the cans. So if I say ingredient list item is that item, can size is not what I want. Ah, that's right. I figured it out here and I didn't pull it back. I want string extract. There we go. Can size, good. Unit index, so let's do that. Take that fixed down there. Ingredient list item. Oh yeah, this should be tokens. There we go. All right. So if I do can parser on X list 6. All right, cool. can parser works. And what happens if I do can parser on xlist 5? All right, it just spits it right back out. All right, I'm going to do a slightly hacky way right now. I'll say if can unit does not equal what we started with, then return the can unit. Otherwise, we will go through the other stuff. So if I go get unit, let's do this. Apply to our xlist, get unit. All NAs. All right. Except for the cans. All right. So, what's going on here? I'm getting the appropriate one there. We've done the hard problem. All right, so we get can unit. It doesn't do any, or it spits back what we started with. It spits back 1 pound bulk mild Italian sausage. It tokenizes that. It finds, where do we find pound? Pound should be in here. Pound. I guess I should also have pounds. Ounces, grams, kilograms. I'll tidy this up. In the future. All right, so when I do get unit, let's do this, get unit on xlist1, and it should be giving us pound. So it should tokenize that. It should say which of these tokens is in the units of measure. So that seems all right. It should give us, oh, yes. Tokens again. All right. Let's go back to that sapply. All right. Pound, teaspoon, slices, large. Tablespoon, cans, medium, cup, bunch. All right. I am happy with that. So, could use a little bit of tidying, but for now it does the trick. All right, so get names. What do? We look at everything to the right. Mild Italian sausage, minced garlic. I think that we've got that too. All right, so parse ingredient list. Let's try that. getting some warnings, but those don't really matter. We're getting our ingredient organized alphabetically, which might give us some issues at some points, but not terrible. Cool. So this is getting us a long way there. Now, from here, to make the comparison, we need ways to not just get a data frame, but to get multiple data frames and plug them together. Ideally, we'd be able to merge them. So let's do this. All right, so we don't need these old parsers because they work. Our units of measure we should save over here. I'll put that towards the top. All right. So it might still need to standardize the ingredient name. Compare more than one recipe. So x1 will be something, x2 will be something, x3 will be something. Let's get some examples. Let's look at mincemeat pies. Traditional, crumbly topping. Mince pie southern version. All right, well, let's take a look at a few. Ground beef, bouillon. Oh, okay, so this is not a sweet mince pie. All right, not what I'm looking for. Traditional mince pies. Here we go. This is what I am looking for. It's using a prepared filling. That's lame. Mince pie, crumbly topping, raisins. Okay, these people are doing the real deal. Chili stew. This is not what I'm looking for. All right. So these are the ones I'm really interested in. So let's go. DF1 will be get page x1 to get ingredient list to I guess I can get rid of that. X DF was parse ingredient list from X list. Parse ingredient list. Right. What are you giving me a problem with? Tokens. Okay. This is, all right, so can parser, we just stick them together, get units. Unit index plus 1. Like the tokens. to get page, get ingredient list, parse ingredient list. Parse ingredient list. We're doing this. Get name. Yep, yada yada yada. Get name. I think get name is where our problem is. All right, here we go. Error in unit index +1 to the length of tokens. Argument of length 0. Okay, so it's running into a problem when we don't have that. So like if I go which of false, 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 we get nothing. If I say one of them is true, we get the third one is true. So if my unit index is wrong, and I'm running into problems with these examples, cups, cup, teaspoon, cup, tablespoons, cup, cup, egg. Okay, I'll bet it's with the egg. So if we see one egg beaten or one egg large or something like that, we're going to run into a problem. And we'll get that with get quantity. With get name, we'll say if length unit index is less than 1, then let's just return, okay, we'll say unit index will take on the value of 1. Let's give that a whirl. Did it drop our eggs? I think it did get rid of our eggs. Let's try this. Do the whole thing, source it all over, see what happens. So I just added eggs to the list of, or the vector of units of measure. Our example still works, didn't break it, that's good. df1, df2, I'm still not seeing eggs. Oh, egg. Unit was large, one large egg beaten. So it handled that for df3. For df2, I don't think it did. And for df2, got our 3 recipes. One egg beaten. This was 15304. So this is number 1. This is 2. This is 3. So DF1. We have ice water. We have prepared mincemeat pie filling, and then we lose the end of the list. 1 egg beaten, 1/4 cup confectioner sugar. Oh, no, never mind. That was rearranged. It was put into alphabetical order. So we do have that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But we did lose the eggs. Right? We got 8 items, none of them are eggs. For DF2, no eggs. For DF3, here we do have an egg. So DF2 is out of this recipe, which calls for no eggs. Okay. All right. And then under this one, we did have 1 large egg, and that was taken care of well. Well enough. So 1 egg, the unit is large. The ingredient is egg, comma, beaten. I do have egg in the units of measure, egg and eggs. So that could hypothetically create a problem, but forget unit. I believe I'm just taking the first one. So tokenize, we ask which. So if I go, which of the numbers from 1 to 10 divisible by 2 equals 0. So it should give us all of them. So if our unit index is too many things, then let's make sure we paste and collapse equals blank space. So large eggs should work. DF3, still just 1 large. All right. Oh, because egg, comma. Should get different behavior there. Yeah, see, it's now large egg, comma. All right. Now, let's just see what happens when we merge some things. So let's merge DF1, DF2. Didn't work. All right. Let's try full join. Okay. So we are getting a full join. Let's view this. Refrigerated dough, package of refrigerated. Okay. I should do this only by ingredient. There we go, that's better. Okay, so we're seeing some interesting stuff here. We've got ground cinnamon in one, we have 1 teaspoon, we have 2 teaspoons. All right, this is looking pretty good. It's not exactly what I want yet. And let's see, we should have, oh, this one doesn't show flour because it's using refrigerated dough. Butter softened compared to also not showing up because it's in the prepackaged dough. But we've got the cinnamon overlapping, the orange zest. If we got some here, we got lemon zested and juiced. That'll be a trickier one. Granny Smith apples. Prepared mincemeat filling. That's okay. Let's try with DF2. I think this first one is not a great recipe. All right, all-purpose flour. All-purpose flour. Why is it in there twice? This is at a DF2. 1.5 cups all-purpose flour. We're getting 1.25. Got that up here? No. Cinnamon and cloves, those are merging appropriately. Raisins is merging the way we expect. DF3, is there no flour in here? Right. Refrigerated dough. Now, why is this not giving us a simple 1.5? Okay, we have 1.5, and then we have a separate 3/4. 3/4 going into the filling, 1.5 going into the crust. Okay, it is 1.5. I was reading that as 0.5. Okay, cool. So it's showing up there twice, which is, you know, weird, but it's accounting for everything. All right. So, so I need to go through this functions file, make sure that everything is clear and obvious what it's doing. You know, some of the stuff I can do. Stuff like that. Just take up a little less screen space. Get quantity, get name, can parser. These last few, I should be rewriting them so that I don't need the comments. I should get probably some better examples, but for now, this is doing the trick. Standardize ingredient names, so that could be valuable, and that'll probably mean a series of functions. But again, that's going to be a lot of fiddly stuff, a lot of looking for these cases where there are underlapping ingredient names, and that'll be easier if I just throw in a bunch of ingredients and see what doesn't parse well. Alright, and we do have kind of a crappy way to compare to. It's not crappy, it's better than nothing. But it's a little ugly, right? This stuff we just did here. But unless we standardize ingredient names, it's probably going to look about like that. But let's go ahead and stop there. That is plenty of good work accomplished.